All right. Hello again, everyone. Good to see familiar faces and some new faces. Always fun to see like a few new people popping in and then familiar faces always, which is lovely. Thank you for coming and supporting us every week. It means so much that you're here um and that you get something out of these workshops. It makes us feel like we're doing something meaningful. So thank you. And yeah, I just wanted to give a little background on Pandion as usual, just for people who are new or who are going to catch this replay later. So Pandion Music Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit. We just got our license in January of this year, which was really exciting, which means that's opened the door to tons of possibilities for us in the future. It hopefully we'll be able to give grants at some point in the near future and just do a ton more partnerships with existing organizations and companies that are working in the music scene. And what we've been doing since October of 2022 is running these workshops once a week on Wednesdays mostly with different mentors, music professionals in different areas of the music scene, and helping give this free resource to emerging artists, specifically who might not be able to afford the courses and classes that are out there, or those who just want a free resource and access to more information on different topics of the music industry. So, yeah, that's where we're at right now. And we've done a couple partnerships already, and we've got a few more in the works. And we actually have an event with Sam's Recording Academy coming up this week, at the end of the week, at Earth Star Creation Center in Venice. So that's really exciting. If you don't follow Sam Knack, you should definitely check him out. And his recording academy. So he's doing like a really hands-on, intensive workshop for a couple days at the studio, and we're helping host that. So that's really exciting, and hopefully we'll do it again with him. So if you missed out on a ticket this time, there will be hopefully tickets in the future, maybe even some scholarship type things for that. So yeah, we're very excited to have Asha here today talking about music supervision and her experience with that and as a creator herself. She's an audio producer and music supervisor for the Wilders and also does other work on her own based in Toronto, Canada. And she's recently worked on projects including Shelved, Canada's Drag Race, Vikings, Valhalla, My Little Pony, Make Your Mark, My Little Pony, Tell Your Tale, and This Being Human podcast. Upcoming projects include Late Bloomer and Don't Even, both for Bell Media in Canada. So it's been involved with lots of things, and we're really excited to chat. Welcome.
Thank
Welcome
you so
to
much.
Pandion.
So excited to be here and to see everybody's faces. It's so nice to meet everyone.
Yeah, so it's great to have a little crowd today, and we were just Asha and I were just talking about how it's kind of nice because you have more control over like how many people you see when you're giving these
Yes,
presentations. So it's like it's a little bit more approachable from the
yes,
presenting end of things.
exactly.
Lovely. Well, if you want to give a little bit more background on you and just how you got involved in the music industry um, and yeah, how it's led up to where you are today, that would be great.
Yeah, so I am originally from a very small town about 4 hours north of Toronto called Sudbury, Ontario. I grew up in a community that I felt kind of not at home in because of the color of my skin, and so I sought my community through music. I grew up singing and dancing, and part of that for me was kind of stepping out of the shell that I found myself in growing up as a kind of isolated child. Um, and I quickly fell in love with music, all kinds of music. My parents played everything in the house. So I grew up with a lot of reggae. My dad is from Jamaica. I grew up with a lot of pop. I grew up with the pop divas, which made a huge impact on me and my singing. And then as a kid, I thought that I wanted to be a singer. That was my big dream. And I really wanted to pursue that. When you're a kid, nobody really tells you that dream might not be attainable. And so for me, it was kind of a discovery as I grew up figuring out how I could be involved in music. And so dancing was a part of that, singing was a part of that. But really, I started to get into a lot of film and TV, and I found myself really, really intrigued by that. And I started to kind of learn more about film music and how film music was put together. And once I made that discovery, I kind of thought, hey, what are the next steps available to me? I didn't want to cut myself off from music completely because I had felt so many times that music was something that had saved me. And I think a lot of people can kind of relate to that, because at some point or another, we all have something that carries us through day to day. And I felt that music was the thing that was going to help me kind of come out of my shell, but also set me up for the rest of my life in some way. And so it was a couple of years for me as I grew older, just not knowing what to do. And that's not uncommon, but I felt like I needed to make a choice as it related to my career. And so I explored a couple of options. I ended up going to school for music production. So I learned a lot being in studio, and I learned very quickly how to use Pro Tools. I learned a lot about audio post on that side of things, and I was really intrigued by it. I still like to keep my technical chops up because I feel like it's something that I continue to learn as I do. And then I did the music business side of things, which was really intriguing to me too. I am one of those strange people that really likes to learn about contracts and how deals are put together. And I know that a lot of people can't relate to that, or budgets, or having a budget go exactly the way you want it, having a production go exactly the way you want it. So that was a thrill for me. And being able to marry those two things was an even bigger thrill. And so I ended up going into production on the long format side. So I worked at a place in Toronto called Pirate Toronto. I was half in studio, half admin. So I got to see both sides of those things. And I found that I enjoyed both of those things. So I didn't want to remove either part of those things from my day to day. After I was at Pirate, I moved on to a place called Grayson Music, which is the sister company to the Wilders, which is where I am now. Grayson Music focuses mostly on original music for advertising and music supervision for advertising, which is something that I do not do. I learned how to be on set. I learned how much it takes to actually produce 90 songs in the span of 2 months to be recorded on set. We did a show for Disney called Backstage, and we were recording 12 kids and a bunch of songs for this production that was shooting actively as we were writing the songs. So the stories were being written, the scripts were being written, we were producing the music, getting the kids recorded, and then extending those songs later in the production process. And from there, I learned a lot about creating original music for TV. It was a lot, Juliette. Yeah. Original music for TV and for film. And that's on the composer side and on the songwriting side. But then I also learned a lot about sync and music supervision and all the contracting involved. And I very quickly realized that I like to be the person that kind of has a hand in everything on that side of things. So as we stand today, I'm a music supervisor that does a ton of original music. Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, a ton of original music for film and TV. So I oversee the process of getting those songs made. I will also contract musicians and players, orchestra. I will supervise those records. I will oversee the score. So composers doing anything from orchestral score to hybrid scores to hip hop scores. And I am also in the studio every once in a while on the technical side. So it's a lot. I do a lot, but I really love it. I don't think I would be able to do as much as I do if I didn't love it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is a lot. Definitely when you
It's a lot.
yeah. That must be amazing though to have the production knowledge and ability as a supervisor too, because then you would have so much more insight
Yeah,
and ability to like actually get in there and hands-on do things more if you need to. And yeah,
exactly.
that's very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I would say that with budgeting especially, or putting together a music package for a project, just having that technical background and knowing how long things take and the nuance that goes into the creation of things is a really helpful asset for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I think that that's like a great thing. And part of like what Pandion does too is trying to like give more tools to artists so that they're more knowledgeable, have more of like a bank of tools for themselves as,
Hmm.
because I think you're like a lot of us as emerging musicians are kind of self-managed essentially for most of our careers, if not all of our careers. So it's
Yep.
nice to have more of that knowledge. It's great. It's cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so feel free to just talk about as much as you want or as little as you want, and um, just give more maybe of like an insight into your day to day and how you
Hmm.
choose music. And I think most of the participants here would be in sync licensing, so have a little bit of knowledge,
Yep.
but also always want to learn more. And yeah,
Yeah, so I am currently doing quite a few different projects, and they all have very unique, specific needs. So, um, on the broader scale, I would say that we do a ton of work in the kids space. My Little Pony is one of my big projects. I've been on the latest generation of My Little Pony for about 2 years now, and it is a project that is really unique because we're creating a lot of music before we see any visuals. So for me, when I am approaching songwriters or producers, a lot of the time I am trying to get to know their pop sensibilities, how quickly they can turn stuff around, and obviously that is always a challenge when you're working in TV and film. Even on the sync side, for me, um, I often get to a request coming from the production. Um, Probably later than I should have had that request. So um, on a project like that, I am always trying to introduce myself to songwriters and producers that might want to do something different, that understand that just because it's a kids show doesn't mean that we're writing music that speaks down to children. So for this project in particular, our mandate has been to do music that makes everybody move. And that includes moms and dads, and that includes little kids, and it includes teenagers. And I find myself dancing to the songs that we've written all the time. It's generally a feel good and a very empowering vibe for this show. And so it's something that we find to be um, an inclusive mandate. And across the board, I would say that most of the shows that I'm doing right now are very heavily focused on diversity and inclusion. And it's a hugely important part of my personal mandate as well. So we do a ton of work with women composers on the film side, traditional scoring, but on the song side as well. So if anybody is interested in doing some of that work, I would love to connect with you after, because it is a big part of the reason that I do what I do, is getting more voices in the room but don't necessarily have a chance to speak. Um, so My Little Pony is a great example of a show that is trying to break some barriers in the way that we speak to this new generation of people. And yes, cheers to women composers and producers. Um, and My Little Pony is sweet. Another show that I'm doing right now is Canada's Drag Race, and I've been on that show since season 1. It's currently in its 4th season. Um, that show's a little bit different because it's a project that oftentimes I get a list of dream songs that the producers would like. Sometimes I'm pitching some stuff, but oftentimes it's a list of tracks that they would like to clear. Budgets are a challenge in Canada. It's I think probably, I would say, if I'm speaking to an American counterpart, our budgets are quite different. Um, Knowing that my preference is to always be transparent and fair with the artists that I am speaking to about the budgets. But I think for me, it's important to also make opportunities available to artists who are doing something new, something interesting, and again, just putting voices in the room that might necessarily not have the chance to be in the room. So Drag Race is, again, a very inclusive project. The property itself is a very inclusive property. And I think it's just something that continues year after year to impress and to push boundaries. And I love to be a part of those projects because it's just important to have a little bit of activism in your day, I think. So I will circulate, I think, a PDF of these particular projects, just so that I can keep in touch with everyone. And if you want to submit some music for these projects, we'll circulate some links for that after. But I am doing a couple of series right now that are really interesting and very challenging, because they do focus around communities that are not necessarily focused on in TV and film. So I'm doing a show about Indigenous Canadians right now, set in the 90s, and it is a queer love story. It's a coming of age story, two young women in Winnipeg, Manitoba, coming of age through music. So we're writing a lot of original music, licensing some music. Anything that is evocative of the 90s is going in that show, which is amazing. I grew up a little punk kid in Sudbury, which a lot of people would not guess. But punk rock was a big awakening for me. And so to get to place that music in a series is pretty special. So that show is a 6 30-minute episodes, and we are doing maybe some Tegan and Sarah. Yeah. We are doing a lot of original punk songs. We are recording them. And then we're also trying to find some artists of the time that were popular in Canada and North America, but aren't necessarily that much of a household name. So that's a pretty special kind of thing. We get to highlight some artists that may not have been well known at the time, but can kind of get a second wind through this TV show. And then another show that I'm doing is called Late Bloomer. And it is, yes, music from the 90s too, Michelle. Yeah. Let me just pop up your question here so that I can read the full thing. So it's set in 1998. So we're trying to be as accurate to the time period as possible. So I would say anything 80s to the 90s, and anything that sounds like 80s to the 90s. So yeah, Late Bloomer is a show that I'm doing that's focused around the Punjabi Sikh community. When I am searching for music on a series, I like to be as culturally sensitive as possible and invite myself to take the time to do the research on my end and really try to get as knowledgeable about the source material as possible. In Canada, we do have a lot of programs on the production side that walk you through cultural sensitivity training. So every time I'm onboarded into a production, I do get an opportunity to learn more about the culture that I am going to be immersed in for the show, which is really nice. So I am looking for a vast range of music at all times. Anything that'll pique your ear, anything that is even a little bit off kilter is great. Anything that uses tabla, Middle Eastern percussion is something that we look to a lot for this particular series. So it's kind of all over the map. But these two series in particular illustrate that the Canadian market, at least, has a commitment to pushing a lot of doors wide open for communities who aren't necessarily placed at the forefront. And so a lot of the projects that I'm seeing come through are projects that have very interesting musical requests. And so I'm always doing a ton of research and always connecting one-on-one with artists to kind of see what they're doing, what's up and coming in their worlds, and if they're interested in doing some original pieces a lot of the time too. That's something that I really enjoy doing, is connecting with people and kind of seeing what their ambitions are beyond the songs that they have existing and beyond their artist projects. So for me, if anybody wants to speak to me afterwards, I'd love to keep connected. it is something that is really important for me as I kind of move forward, because I never know what the next project is. And the Wilders is a company that has an office now in LA. So we do a lot of American projects. And we also have an office in New York. So the projects that kind of flow through those two offices are a little bit different. I also work with a lot of UK clients, and it's interesting because musically it feels quite a bit different over there than what's going on here in North America. And so I get to see the two kind of realms of what's happening on each side of the world. And that is, it definitely keeps me on my toes, but it also helps to kind of expand my knowledge. And I'm always learning. It feels like I'm always just trying to keep up and also just be true to the projects. The storytelling aspect is such a beautiful part of songs and score and film and TV. And even on the advertising side, there is a really deep storytelling through line. So the marriage of those two things, storytelling and music, is what keeps me going day to day. How do I do what needs to be done in service of the story? So in terms of music supervising a job, I feel at first, my first instinct is to kind of understand the showrunner's perspective and the writer's perspective and what they're trying to articulate in that story. And I think for me, it's all the other musical inspiration tends to follow. And I'm sure if you've ever written for picture, you understand that too. A lot of the time, you are trying to capture a feeling that the director or showrunner, who may not be so musical, is trying to articulate. And it's your job to kind of articulate it and elevate the story as well. Yeah, that's what I would say.
It's so nice to hear just that you create such a like what you were saying, like a story for yourself, and doing the back end research on more of the history and the cultural aspect of it and who you're working with and what story you're trying to tell is really nice to hear. Because I feel like, I don't know, I'm curious, like how many projects do you is it hard to find projects that are that actually are intentional about being diverse and doing that kind of thing? Like, do you have to kind of seek them out more, or is it something that's happening more often now?
I would say that in the Canadian market, it's something that's happening more often. I'm hoping that that's going to flow out to the rest of the world. But it is definitely here in Canada, there is a push to make more content that showcases our very vast population of different cultures and people. For me personally, I grew up not necessarily seeing somebody that looked like me on screen. And when you can't connect in that way, it can be really difficult to see yourself reflected back. And if you don't see yourself reflected back, it's easier to feel like an outsider. So for me, the projects that are being made here in Canada are really important. I hope they do well across the world. And that's also something for me to look forward to as a person that felt like an outsider growing up, to see those projects come to fruition and have eyes on them, but also be these really great pieces of art is a really spectacular thing. So here in Canada, it's definitely a thing. Starting to get some American projects that have that same kind of mandate, but it is a little bit slower on the American side, I would say.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine it's like that makes sense to me because I feel like the industry is like so particular just for it's nice that there are things a little bit more like meaningful and actually like intentional like that coming out over there, because I hope that starts to spread a bit more. It's
Yeah.
nice since it can get a little bit, seems like a sometimes could be a slog, like just feeling like you're kind of like a cog in the wheel, like just cranking out, like putting music in TV shows,
Yeah.
but and movies and stuff, but not actually having like that like link behind like the
Yes.
story and the people involved and like actually what's going on there, and also just like making a statement an intentional statement about that is so important. So
Yeah.
that's great to hear. That sounds really exciting.
It's a very exciting time.
Yeah,
I see a question from Michelle here about CanCon,
Yeah.
and I just want to answer that because on the licensing side, we don't have any. There are no requirements around CanCon for the projects that I'm working on right now. It does depend. So Canada has great tax incentives for productions to either co-produce or produce or post here in Canada. And so they might require that you are an Ontario composer, Ontario songwriter, or a Canadian with a residency here. It's opening up quite a bit with productions that are here in Canada. If there's no tax incentive, then we can always kind of skirt around that. It also depends on the project because I would say that the higher budget projects that come through can use American composers, UK composers. It just depends on the project. So it kind of goes project by project. And on the licensing side, I would say that it's very rare that I'm mandated to use just Canadian music. That's a great question, though.
We can open up, if anyone has questions, feel free to raise your virtual hand. We can bring you on, or you can just pop them in the chat. We can get to them. And then also, just to remind everyone, we're doing the disco playlist again today, as we do for our supervisor workshops. So if you have a song, so what Asha was talking about, all these amazing projects she's working on, if you have a song that seems like it might fit something, she's going to share a document that I'll make exclusive to this group. So please do not share outside of the group. It'll be a little link on our Ask Me Anything thread on the Creator Circle Facebook group that we have. So if you haven't joined that, you can go request to join, and we can admit you in there. And we'll provide that link for you to the document. Then you can read a little bit more details if you need a reminder. And then I will drop the disco link at the end of this call. So just stay tuned for that. Yeah. Yeah, and then that'll be our disco playlists are available on our disco library. So that'll just be there for others to access as well if people come across it. So yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit more? Yeah. Oh yeah, let's get to the questions for sure before if there's any here.
Oh,
there's a question about the My Little Pony project.
Yeah. Okay, so for My Little Pony, we do original songs. Every once in a while, we may do something that we license and re-record. It's usually the ponies singing, so it's the cast. Every once in a while, yes, we will license something and re-record it with the ponies. That's a great question too.
It looks like Lori's got her hand raised. So we can unmute and have Lori come on for a second.
Thank you. Hi, Asha.
Hey.
This is great.
Hi, Lori.
Hi, hon. Thanks for supporting
How's it going?
women and composers. I'm good.
Yeah. I
have a question. Would you rather get things directly from like us, or would you like us to go through a sync agent? Like if I have a punk song from 1998, for instance, it's signed to a couple labels or agents, excuse me, but I could send it to you directly. Like, do you have a preference?
I don't have a preference. It's always great for me to connect with the originator of the music because I might think of you for something else. But I don't, I get so many blasts. So I would say that my inclination is to first check out an individual artist that's contacting me just because it's more personal. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lori. Yeah, that's great to hear. I feel like there's not very many supervisors, at least that I've come across so far, that want that like real one-on-one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I love it.
I'm sure it's more work. And if you're like, yeah, it's when you're busy, it's like you probably sometimes just want to be getting through things. But yeah, but that's really nice. Yeah,
it's good to make the connections with people just because you never know what magic is going to happen when you meet people. So
yeah, that's amazing.
So Asha, Rebecca here, and it's a little noisy. That's why I've been keeping I've been muting myself. But I
No
know that
problem.
I met you at Durango, and
Yes.
you had such great, sweet feedback with everyone. Um, do you? My question to you for the group would be, how often do you do these conferences, and will you be doing Durango again? The next one coming up.
Yeah.
I know there's one
So
coming up in Colorado.
yes. So I will be at the Colorado convention, and then I will also be at the one in Ventura next year.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
yes, I do. I try and do as many as I can. It's a challenge just because I am quite busy, but and I'll usually work from those places when I'm there. But I like to do them. Again, it's so nice for me to meet people and feel, especially kind of coming out of 2020, 2021, just getting into rooms with people and feeling the energy of people and feeling the energy of music together is a really important thing. So yes, I will be back and I will try to do as many as possible.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay, so I'll definitely probably see you the one with Ventura. But yes, I'm
Yes.
so excited about that. And also when you come back to LA, maybe I can try to see you. But so yeah,
Yes.
so Asha Dillon, if anyone wants to meet her in person, she'll be going to Durango. So
Yeah,
if you
good
guys are
opportunity for
interested,
that.
yeah, good opportunity to meet her.
Yeah. I'm very approachable, just so you know.
You come across that way, which I
Thank
appreciate very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Anyone else have questions? Raise your hand. Um, oh, I was going to ask you more about your podcast work because I think
Yes.
that hasn't been talked about so much, and another whole area, I guess, of supervision that people could get involved in. Yeah.
Yeah. So podcasts are really interesting because they kind of go for us in two different ways. A lot of the time I'm overseeing the audio and the musical licensing for it, but we do quite a bit of original music for podcasts as well. And I think it's kind of an untapped market for artists. Obviously, there's a challenge with the back end. You would hope that the budget can sustain that kind of issue off the top. So it is, that's something that I recommend that artists who are looking to get their music out there actually look into, because it is such an untapped, expanding market. And some podcasts will start without any advertisers behind them. And so the money isn't there off the top. Oftentimes we're doing a lot of podcasts that are co-productions with TV broadcasters. I'm doing a project currently with a museum that is a Middle Eastern focused museum. The podcast itself is focused on Middle Eastern arts and culture. And we do quite a bit of musical supervision for this particular series. It's in its third season now. You can check it out. It's called This Being Human. Podcasts, of course, are most often than not available worldwide. And so worldwide and in perpetuity. So you need to be willing to license your music in that way. Even though it's really challenging to collect anything on the back end. So the front end, if you are looking to get your music placed on a podcast, I would say just make sure that it's worth it in that way for you. So it's a range of music that we're placing into these podcasts. It's quite often we do a bit of, I would say, higher tier, bigger budget podcasts that actually can put some popular music in there. Obviously, if you were to look at the Apple top 10 of podcasts, most of these podcasts have music in them in some way. So it's either a theme song or a credit song or transitions and bumpers, but a lot of them are also music focused podcasts that break down a song or are showcasing new artists. So it's really kind of looking at the market and trying to see where you might fit. For me, every time music comes through, I'm looking at all landscapes of music. So I'm looking at, will this fit in a show? Will this fit in a feature film? Will this fit in a documentary? Will this fit in a podcast? And how can it be used in a podcast? So we do have quite a bit of free reign to kind of pitch stuff when we are talking to podcast clients, especially when it comes to theme songs. So even if it's not written specifically for the show, if it feels like it's in this kind of realm or vein of what we're talking about in the podcast, then I'll pitch it for the podcast. There was a time where there was a cap on licensing for podcasts, and the term of the license for the podcast, where it was 5 years. But generally, we are trying to ask for perpetuity, knowing that most companies won't want to pull their podcast off the internet after 5 years. So that's something to be mindful of. But yes, I would say that there is definitely a market for licensing your music to podcasts. If you are an active listener of podcasts, I would say just try and identify one that you kind of really like and might see your music in. Credits are actually really important in podcasts. And so if there's a music supervisor on the show, it's usually at the tail end or at the top. If not, it's in the podcast description. So it's probably quite easy to identify who's the tastemaker on the project and how to get in touch with them. Why is the back end so difficult? Lori. So yes, there is. It's just, as you can see with a lot of the unions that are now fighting the streamers to be properly compensated, and we here in Canada too with composers find it very challenging to be properly compensated for the shows that are on Netflix or on Crave here in Canada. The back end is significantly lesser on the streaming projects here than on TV and even on radio here. So it is a challenge. It's something that, at least in Canada, they are working to kind of figure out, but it's not, it's kind of the Wild West as it relates to those royalties. And if there is a royalty, it's always very small. That's a great question.
And that's mechanical royalties, the streaming.
That's right.
So yeah, so I imagine it's different because the US has the MLC, which helps with that. Does Canada have something similar?
So we have quite a few things that are, I would consider, the governing bodies of royalties here in Canada. We have the CMRRA, who has merged with our main PRO, SOCAN, now. So SOCAN is also collecting the mechanical royalty.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then there is one separately in Quebec called SODRAC. So it is a little bit more sectioned off here in Canada, but they are trying. I would say that it's a little bit behind, like even on payouts on TV and films in Canada, I would say that the US royalties pay out quicker. So SOCAN here in Canada takes about 2 years from first broadcast to pay out. And that's kind of challenging. The US definitely has the most solid system.
Yeah, hopefully that's all changing.
Yes,
as we're getting further along in this world of streaming and stuff. So
exactly, it's still kind of being figured out, and that's across the board for composers, for writers, for directors. It's just kind of challenging for everyone right now.
Yeah, I feel like in a lot of ways it's kind of, as an artist, you're like, you do something and then you just kind of have to wait around for who knows how long for it to actually come, like whether it's even just getting like the placement to begin with, but like once you get that, then it's a big process.
Yeah, a waiting game for sure.
Yeah, it is. All right, any more questions, anybody? Yeah, when you guys, so if you want to, when you drop songs in the link I'm going to give you at the end, if you want to add in little comment section which project you'd like it to be considered for, maybe that would help, and then I can send that to you, Asha, just kind of like which songs for what kind of, so that it'll be easier than when you're going through them.
Perfect. I see a question from Jennifer. Is there a different kind of title for the license associated with the podcast, as since typically songs are not being synced to picture? No, we use master and sync. It's we still consider it a sync license because it's being synced in time with something. That's a good question.
For podcasts, how would you recommend, if people want to get into that more, how to approach that kind of to dive in?
Yeah. So when I'm meeting younger composers that are first looking to get into the industry and get their feet wet, I always say find a student or find an up and coming filmmaker that you really like and try to see if you can work on a short film for them. Podcasts are almost the same way, where I'd say the best way to kind of get your foot in the door is to align yourself with people who are doing the thing. And from there, the relationship develops and you can kind of see what the musical match is there, if it's creating some original music for the show or if it's licensing your music for the show. And then things tend to kind of roll from there. Once, I would say word of mouth for me is a huge thing. If I hear that an artist is really into certain projects and they've worked with my colleagues before, I will approach them and see how I can work with them. So word of mouth is one thing. And then I would say just aligning yourself with the kind of work that you want to be doing. Find the people that are doing that work and try and kind of get to know them.
Great. Cool. Chrissy, I'll unmute you.
Hi, thank you. Let me lower my head.
Hi, Chrissy.
Hi, Asha. How are you?
Nice to
Thank
meet
you
you.
so much
Good,
for
thanks.
nice to meet you too. You were speaking a lot about writing original songs for the various shows, My Little Pony, and I think the Canada one also.
We do some original music for Canada's Drag Race. Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So when I think you were often saying we write original music. So are you one of the writers, or do you take on a group of writers for the shows, or how does that work?
So I am typically involved in a group of writers. I will contract people for a project, I like to call it kind of a chem check, which is essentially just making sure that the chemistry is there between the writers and the show. And just knowing that my roster and network of people has different strengths. And so I'll usually try and match people up by their strength with the project. Myself, I am involved in the creative. I am the person that they are usually the writers of these songs or the composers of the score. I am usually in the room with them, directing them, briefing them, giving them feedback, also like tailoring lyrics, tweaking stuff with them actively in the room. So I don't necessarily consider myself to be one of the writers because I'm constantly in awe of the people that I work with and the things that they do. But I am more of a nucleus that contains all the information and then tweaks things with them. And I really wanted to be a music producer when I grew up, technically a music producer, but I would say that I mostly oversee the process. Yeah. That's a great question. Thank you. Yeah, I never remember that when I say we, but yes, I work with a lot of people. I would say that my network is it's large, spans the world, and I'm working with people in Mexico sometimes. I'm working with people in Spain quite often. As I said, we have two people, we have an office in LA now, and we have two music supervisors based in LA. And so the process that we've established is very collaborative. We don't all work on the same projects. They have projects that are different from mine, but we have a huge network of people that we work with, and that is songwriters, that is score composers, that is music producers, singers. We do contract a lot of singers and players. The name of the company is called The Wilders. That's Christina's question. Yeah, I'll just throw the website in here for everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so our company is, I would say, working globally, not just with clients globally, but with lots of really cool writers and players and singers globally. So
That must be amazing to have such a wide span of
yes,
people to work with. Yeah,
it's really nice.
cool. Great. Well, we've got just a few minutes left, so if anyone has any lingering questions, also remember to go join the our Facebook Creator Circle so that you can drop any follow-up questions there too if you forgot to ask something today. And yeah, is there any like what's the favorite thing that you're working on right now, or something you're looking forward to working on soon?
Yeah, I am always in awe of the projects that I get to be a part of, because most of these projects are projects that I either grew up directly having made an impact on. So My Little Pony was something that I grew up with, and I'm sure a lot of people have grown up with My Little Pony because it's a, an important, iconic piece of cultural history as it relates to toys and growing up. And so My Little Pony was one that I was just blown away that I could be a part of and continue to be a part of. And then Drag Race was also a dream project for me. I started watching Drag Race when I was in grade 7, and I never could have imagined that it was a project that I would get to put my stamp on. So every day I'm just in awe of the things that I get to be a part of, and I'm so grateful. And I think that's why I like to meet other people too, because it's I feel like there's a barrier to entry a lot of the time surrounding music, and I think it is better for it to just disappear. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
Christina was asking if you're looking for composers mostly for instrumental music or for lyrical songs.
Both. I meet a lot of composers that do just traditional scoring, or also like if you're an instrumental producer that does a lot of jazz. I like to know a range of people for my network because I do a little bit of both. So I think I would say that it's 50-50. I do a lot of original music that is lyric focused, and we oversee a ton of score. But yes, I would say that if you're doing both things, send it all to me.
Cool. Great.
Jody Lynn, is there
Yeah.
a question? I'll just say that currently I'm doing some projects that require some cool kind of vintage throwback pop vibe. So it's a project I won't tell you the title right now because it's kind of in production right now and it hasn't been widely announced. So it is a project that is a remake of a film that has been out for about 50 years. And this film in particular is an adaptation of a book, and it is set in France. So the director's tastes lean kind of nostalgic and vintage. I would say very poppy and folky for that project in particular. And then across my other projects, like I said, I am looking for all kinds of things. So R&B, pop, hip hop, jazz, neo psychedelia. It is all over the map. And I would say 90s stuff is coming back right now. We've gone through a cycle where it was lots of licenses for things that sound like they're from the 70s. There was a little bit of 80s stuff, and now it's moving kind of toward the 90s. So all of that stuff is really good to have.
90s music is coming back.
Yep.
It's coming back.
It's a thing. Yeah.
I'm dropping the link now for everybody, just so it's there. Give you a second to copy, paste that wherever you want to save it. This is the link for today's workshop, the disco submission link. So, and then again, we'll have more information that I'll share in the Pandion Creators Circle on Facebook about these projects again. So if you missed something, you can refer back to that. And please, again, keep it within our group. Don't share outside of the group. And yeah, if there's
I have a
any other questions. Yeah.
I have a question for Asha. So I
Yes.
just put it in the chat, but I'll ask him. So when you're working with agencies, with the Wilders, do you guys have specific agencies that you like to work with, or because a lot of our members are our songs are already with agencies, and it would be helpful sometimes for them to contact their agency and say, well, blah blah blah, we just, we know that you're working on this and we have a song with this agency. Sometimes the connection might be great for you and
Yeah.
easy because it's already with an agency.
Yeah, I would say that in Canada, it's less agency focused. That's just been my experience. We do tend to get a lot of blasts, like I said, from, I would say, mostly major labels at this time. Terrorbird is a great sync team that we really love and work with quite a bit. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with Terrorbird. I think they're based out of New York. I would say that one thing that I do recommend, and sometimes this can be a challenge, but in Canada right now, because of our budgets, we tend to work a lot with the production music libraries, and the production music libraries are getting a ton of work from the productions just because the songs are great, and it's easy to place the songs. So if you have tracks that are unsold and they go unsold for a long time, I would consider speaking to a production music library, because oftentimes they'll take some catalogs and you'll see a bump in where your tracks are being placed. So that's my recommendation that I like to throw in, because there used to be kind of like a dirty word around production library music or stock music, but it's I think it's changed a lot in the last 10 years, and it's become a lot more glamorous. So don't be afraid of it.
That's great to know. It does that's interesting that it's a bit different in Canada with the agency stuff. So that's good. Good to know that it just depends on where you are and who you're talking to. So that's good. Cool. Well, looks like I think we got all the questions that were dropped in here. And yeah, this was so wonderful. Thank you so much for all the insight and information. And
Thanks
I'm
for having
sure
me. It was such a joy. Loved
anytime.
getting to see
Thank you so
everybody's
much.
faces too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you so
yeah.
much, Asha. Yes.
Thank
This
you.
was
So good to have you.
lovely.
Thanks,
Yeah, great.
everybody.
And it'll be fun to listen to everyone's songs. So excited
Yes.
for that. Cool. And then yeah, just keep an eye out if there's any of the conferences that Asha's going to, make sure you keep an eye out for where she's going to be
Yes, I'd
in
love to meet
person.
everybody in person.
Yeah, so fun.
Oh,
Great.
Lori.
Oh, Lori, one more thing.
Just a quick question.
Where?
Can I
Yeah.
do it like after this is over? Can I put it in, or do I?
Yeah. So that, yeah, you can take your time. Well, I try to get them all compiled by the end of the week. So if you can get them to me by the end of the week,
I'm like,
that's great.
I just
But no, yeah, don't worry. don't be rushing too much.
panicking over here.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, they'll be, and yeah, the Creator Circle, you'll be able to see more information, so you can take your time, like choosing which song you want to send
Thanks,
us.
Jordan.
Yeah.
Great job today.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Great. Well, good to see everybody. And Asha, thank you again so much. We would love to have you back on at some point. So
I
we'll
would love
definitely
to be
keep in
back.
touch. Yay. Great.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Good to see everybody. Thank you.